All right, I am back with another video. I got another subject I want to cover with you real quick. I'm going to use some short clips from another channel, like I sometimes do. This one is Courtney Ryan. I like her a lot. She's very good. She's, being a female, she takes a little more nuanced, not quite so direct view of some issues as we might as men. But that's okay. She does a great job. And she does a great job of getting women to respond to her questions and the subject that she puts out. And we're not going to look at much. I just want to look at a couple of short things. And then I want to get into this subject of simps. So let's take a look at this real quick. And then we'll talk about it. The link will be in the description. So if you want to go look at the whole video, I highly recommend it. She's very, very good. So here's the clip.
I feel like it's well, maybe I wasn't thinking of it as endless options, as in like, oh, there's so many of them, I just can't pick anyone. I look at it as like, you know what, this is overwhelming. It feels like a project. It feels like more work to me. And like, I feel like I'm just, like I said, it feels like I'm clearing out emails.
Yes,
Even though it's maybe not the reality.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, they have endless options. They can just continue to scroll as much as they want. I do think that the continuous scrolling and is part of it. Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely think that. Um, and I think that because there are so many options, there's so many people that we have access to being connected on social media. Um, and of course, we show the best sides of ourselves on social media. So,
Yeah, but I feel like it's vice versa. Like, I feel like for girls trying to find guys, it creates such insecurities for myself personally because it's like, well, if you could just go on a dating app and search a 25-mile radius, it's like, what's the point, dude?
That's definitely true too, like especially dependent on where you live. If you live in a bigger city and you have like a million options, it's so easy to just think that there's going to be someone better with like the next swipe. So I think people don't take things as seriously because of that.
Oh yes. I mean, like, I've like had my time on dating apps, and like knowing that I could open it and I would have like a couple hundred likes, or they would send like like comments, or voice notes or anything like that. Like, being able to open it and just scroll and just keep scrolling for for forever, it seems like. And then you go out into the real world and you see like maybe what would be considered like the average looking guy by society standards, but in your head you're like, oh no, like he's not that good looking, because I have hundreds of men that are better looking, that are currently interested in me in that aspect. And I say interested in quotations because it's dating apps sometimes become mindless when people.
All right. So I want to talk about this for just a minute. As you heard, these women, when they're on these dating apps, that with the little bit that they use them, and whether or not use them a lot, kind of depends on who you are and where you're at and what you're doing with your life and how comfortable you are with it. And you can tell they're kind of iffy. But there's reasons that they're iffy. And I want to talk about that because there's two things. There's two things that simps do that make everybody else's life harder. Okay? The first one, of course, is that in-your-face aggressiveness, right? A woman will post a picture and they'll be like, boom, right there, Yas Queen, blah, 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 right? Look at me, look at me, look at me, pay attention to me, right? And they're very up in your face. And women will even comment on this. Like, if they reject the guy will turn around and still be right up in their face going, blah, 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 well, you're not that pretty, and you're ugly, and your dog smells funny, and whatever, right? We've seen this. It makes them uncomfortable. It should. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is this. These guys, because there's so many of them, and because they respond so frantically and so often, it's like an avalanche. And that you hear them describe this, right? It's like clearing out your email, just deleting stuff you know you're never going to to read, right? All the junk emails you get from all those subscriptions and websites that you use or whatnot, right? And you're never going to read them, but they just keep sending them and sending them and sending them. I know you know what I'm talking about, and that's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about when it comes to looking, just looking in a dating app. All these guys, it's just a flood. It's a flood of just attention, attention, attention. Well, here's the thing. It doesn't just have the attribute of getting some women hooked to it and preferring the attention to actual things like affection or right or meaningful dialogue. It's just because the attention's easy, it's super fast, it's super quick, you get it all the time. But there's something else to that, and we need to talk about that. And that's this. If you'll remember, I did a video where I talk about how women can get their heart broken and go through bad things, and they can live that lifestyle, and it burns out the circuit. It just burns it out. You can't live at that super high level of stress all the time, right? It sounds great. We go to a movie and it's drama filled and that's wonderful, and we walk away feeling great. But you can't live there every day. It's got to come down. And the problem that these guys create for us is that it's always on. It's always there. It's always being produced. They're always saying something. They're always liking pictures. They're always. Oh, it's this flood. What it really does is it just burns their circuit out after a while. The women just look at this and just go, and you become like background noise. You become like the trees, the leaves on the trees rustling in the wind, right? You become like the sound of the road when you're on a road trip, right? You don't think about it after a while. You don't even hear it. So once they get burnt out like that, then it's really hard to get the woman's attention at all. Because what are you going to say to her that she hasn't already heard 300 times this week, right? How are you going to approach her? How are you going to, right? So, unfortunately, in this day and age, all you can do is position yourself really and hope that she notices you and sends at least enough signals that you feel like, yeah, okay, now I can talk to this woman, right? Because if you don't, if you just try to cold approach, yes, you can make it work, but it's a numbers game. The problem is the numbers are so big now because so many of them they look at you. If you walk up to them and say, hey, blah, 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 and their eyes just glaze over, right? Probably your best bet at this point is just go, hey, I saw you. You look interesting. Kind of get your number and walk away and just make it, 30 seconds because what are you going to say? What lines are you going to come up with? What could you possibly present to her that she's not hearing all day long on her Instagram, on Snapchat, on whatever she uses on Facebook? I see guys do this on Facebook. So it's so common that it just makes it difficult because you can't separate yourself, right? As a man, you can't separate yourself. Can't stand out. She has to kind of notice you now, and that's where we are until this goes away. Until these guys figure out that even if they try this, they're still not going to get what they want, and they stop. This is where we're stuck at, and it's just rolling the dice, and you come up snake eyes. And you know what? Dice and women are not like a math problem. You can do this wrong thing and roll that dice and come up 1,000 times snake eyes. That happens. You can do that. That's mathematically possible because every time you pick those dice up and you roll them again and you say something to a woman, it's the same crap, and that's all it is. So when you see this, Yeah, I know we don't like to say things, we don't like to check people, but we at least need to start giving these guys some side eye, man. Come on. You got to do better than that. If you don't want to try with your life to do things that you need to do, just rolling the dice over and over again, it's no substitute. It's just not. And one way or another, we need these simps to figure that out. So if you got anything out of that, click like, subscribe, share it, leave a like. I really appreciate that. And you will see me back in the next one quite soon enough.